Please welcome to the stage D2L founder, president, and CEO, John Baker.
All right, thank you for that very warm welcome. And welcome to Fusion, everyone. And welcome to Phoenix. Now, I hope you had an opportunity already to explore, and if not, I hope you do at some point this week, because Phoenix is an awesome place. And folks, have you looked at the horizon? It's amazing. It's awe-inspiring. Just don't hike or stand outside too long without hydration. Hydration is key here in the desert. It is over 110 degrees. That's 45 for the Canadians or global attendees. And Al, who runs our services group, who's based in Scottsdale, tells me this is when the locals switch from long sleeves to t-shirts. So yes, it's a gorgeous place, but it's also tough and resilient, which is why I think Phoenix is a great name for a desert city. Now maybe you know about the Phoenix from mythology, or maybe from the Harry Potter movies. My girls are really into Harry Potter right now. My oldest is up to book number 4, and there are definitely debates on whether werewolves and unicorns are real or myth. This city has a great name because the Phoenix represents the triumph of life. It rises up out of the desert heat, and you're here to see that desert, stretching out in every direction. The sky is huge, and if you start walking, that horizon just keeps moving ahead of you. Out here, you come to realize that the horizon is an idea, not a destination, which is why Beyond the Horizon is our theme for Fusion this year. We're in this moment in learning where our horizon seems limitless. And we know that up ahead, some enormous changes are looming. And we know that it's our job to keep moving towards it. And that is what we're here to do. As people who care deeply about the future of learning, people who believe education matters, people who show up every day to help learners understand a world that is changing fast. Because we're all living through a time when the speed of change is so quick, it's hard to adapt. We're waking up every day to news that can feel unsettling, maybe a little bit worrying. Artificial intelligence is advancing at a pace that surprises even the people building it. Institutions across the world are facing new pressures. Educators are balancing rising expectations with limited time. Students are asking new questions about the value of their education. And leaders, like you, across our sector, are being asked to make decisions about the future with incomplete information, regulations, and old systems that are maybe a little bit slow to adapt. So folks, none of this is easy. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that right here at the beginning. Because when people talk about innovation, they often skip over the part where everything feels a little uncertain. The part where people are still trying to figure things out. What does all this mean? Where the future looks exciting, but a little unsettling. Now, if you feel that tension, you're not alone. I feel it too. I started D2L in my 3rd year of university, and I've spent my career in learning technology. And I have to admit that I don't always feel certain about where all this change is headed. And as a dad of 3 young daughters, I sometimes worry about their future too, because that's what all dads do, and moms too. But I do know this. I know that we're going to get through this moment together, because we've been here before. Now, for clarity, I wasn't here at this time, but when the printing press arrived, scholars worried that students would stop memorizing. When the radio and television arrived, people thought classrooms would disappear. When the internet arrived, people wondered whether universities were still necessary. Each time there's innovation, people worry that education will disappear. But it never does. It evolves. And in fact, each time that access to knowledge expands, education becomes more valuable, not less. And I believe that's the pattern we're seeing again today. When information becomes abundant, the purpose of education becomes clearer. Because education hasn't always been about just delivering content. It's about inspiring people, inspiring them to question, inspiring them to test and interpret and solve problems, inspiring them to be curious, to discover, to think. And in my experience, progress never feels comfortable when you're in the middle of it. And that doesn't mean that we're doing it wrong. It usually means we're doing something that matters. There's an old line from Seneca that I keep coming back to. It's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that things are difficult. That rings true right now. These are difficult times. But the biggest mistake that we could make is to be paralyzed by the change and challenge itself, or to spend too much time trying to predict what is often unpredictable. Because as the pace of change accelerates, people often try to make predictions, like, what will AI do to education? What will universities look like 10 years from now? What jobs will still exist? Now, these questions, they're natural, but I believe they're the wrong place to put our energy. The future is not something that just simply unfolds. It's built by people who tackle difficult challenges. We can't predict the future, but we can build it, which is why in moments like this, direction matters far more than prediction. We may not be able to see everything beyond the horizon, but we can decide how we move towards it, and that matters. And with that in mind, I want to talk about three things today. First, the direction in which we're moving. Second, the way we design as we move towards that horizon. And third, the determination that we all share in getting that future right for our people, for our learners. So first, let's talk calmly, clearly, precisely about our direction. And I want us to acknowledge something fundamental, maybe a little ironic, but the future of learning will not be defined by technology alone. It'll be shaped by the choices educators and institutions like yours make today. That said, because the technologies we are using are powerful, they do force us to ask powerful questions. And I think one of the most important questions that we're being confronted with right now is a deep one. If information becomes easy to generate, where does the value of education come from? Because today, artificial intelligence can generate lecture notes, it can generate essays, it can summarize research papers, it can outline a course structure really fast. It can write a speech like this one. Now, just to be clear, it didn't, but it could. And if we prompt it really well, an AI might even create a decent course on thermodynamics before lunch, which is impressive. Especially as a student who studied a little thermodynamics when I was in university, it is not an easy subject. Anyone that knows anything about differential equations will tell you that. But if content becomes abundant and access to intelligence is frictionless, what is the real role of education? I think about it this way. Right now, learning is even more important, not less. If technology can generate content, educators become more important as guides. If technology can generate answers, educators have a duty to help learners ask better questions. If technology can write a first draft, educators have a responsibility to ensure that learners develop the skills and judgment to improve it. Folks, that is not a smaller role for educators. It's a more consequential one. Education becomes a place where people learn to tackle complexity, where they sharpen their judgment, where they solve problems, where they discover purpose and passion, where they begin to understand the role that they can play in having an impact in this world. I think those things have always been the real work of education. Now, we're already seeing this in practice. At CUNY, one in three of New York City's public school teachers comes through its programs. They use Brightspace to scale that work. And educators that attend CUNY now remain in the profession at rates more than 20% higher than their peers. Think about that for a moment. That's not just providing a better education, that's an institution helping to shape the workforce of an entire city. Because when learning works really well, its impact compounds. A great teacher influences hundreds of students. Thousands of great teachers can influence an entire city. That is the real value of education. And that value becomes even more important as the world around us changes fast. Technology just makes all of this a little bit easier. So when knowledge becomes easier to access, the value of guidance increases. When answers become easier to generate, the value of judgment increases. When information becomes abundant, the value of wisdom increases. And that is why I say education becomes more important in moments like this, not less. Because someone still has to help learners turn information into understanding. Someone has to lead them to become the people they're capable of becoming through feedback, through example, through patience, through, dare I say it, a love of learning. So when everything around us feels like it's changing quickly, I want you to also remember something that does not. And these are unchanging, unshakable beliefs that we share at D2L. Learners will always want to grow. Learners will always want to understand their place in this world. And learners will always want to build lives that matter. And educators will always want to help them reach their full human potential. And because of that, learning will always remain a fundamentally human endeavor, no matter how fast the robots also learn. And that brings me to, an important part of our history. And that's a really critical piece, which is the direction in which we're moving as we build this future together. That's my second point. And that's how we design learning matters. And yes, that means playfully, imaginatively, artistically, and optimistically. But above all, the most important design element of all is trust. It's the foundation. Trust can't be added at the end of the process. It must be included by design right from the beginning. That means privacy by design, security by design, accessibility and inclusion by design, responsible artificial intelligence by design. Trust is that foundational principle, and everything else springs from that work. And I have to say something personal here. Trust and security isn't a new principle that we discovered just because the market demanded it. It's there because we take it seriously as a responsibility. And because I take it seriously as a responsibility, I've never taken my eye off of it. Because I believe that educators need us, and if they're going to use us, they need to trust us with their learners, with their work, and we have to earn that trust every day. So we've invested heavily into building that trust every year for decades because we believe it has to be earned before it is needed. These foundational principles of design matter even more today, at a time when the evolution of technology moves faster. Now, it's also true that artificial intelligence is often described as something we need to harness. And I get that. But it's not just about grabbing a powerful tool and hoping it behaves. As I see it, we have to be intentional with design right from the beginning. We have to design new learning experiences with it. We have to design new forms of feedback, new ways to support learners, and we're designing systems that allow educators to manage the repetitive tasks, giving them back more time so that they can get back to what drew them into education in the first place. More time for working with students, mentoring, sparking that curiosity, helping people grow. Folks, when learning technology is thoughtfully designed, something powerful happens. Technology stops competing with people, and it starts to support them. Educators spend less time on that repetitive work. Learners get faster feedback. Institutions like yours adapt more quickly. Technology, when we properly design it, can and does elevate the craft of teaching. It elevates the learning experience, and it elevates the human potential that education is here to serve. Now, we're already seeing what this looks like in practice. Across institutions that we're working with, new design approaches are emerging. In K-12, we see educators using AI to create better feedback, generate practice activities, identify students that are at risk a little earlier to get them a little help and support. In higher education, we're seeing institutions rethink assessment so that learning remains rigorous in a world where answers are easier to generate. That means more formative assessment, more competency-based education, more authentic demonstrations of what students know and can accomplish. And in the workplace, employers are confronting how to reskill and upskill people for jobs that are changing incredibly quickly. There's also a lot of work to be done still between business and education at that intersection point to help them reestablish new entry-level roles, to help new grads start and grow in their careers. We did a recent survey of over 500 employers, and 87% said they're going to eliminate or change those entry-level roles. Now, I believe that's temporary, but it's still very scary, especially for this next generation of learners. So I think education and business need to work together swiftly, close those skills gaps, redefine new entry on-ramps for students. These are just some of the many examples of why your work has never mattered more, and the way that our companies, our communities, our countries are counting on us. We also see institutions using AI to improve the learning or assessment experience itself. And I want to give you an example. It's our partner SkillsWave. They're leveraging AI to support new forms of assessment in the workplace by analyzing employees' work, building a picture of workforce intelligence, giving real-time understanding of employee skills, and all without building any tests. For example, they're doing that by analyzing code that's been contributed to GitHub to determine the level of mastery of implementing best practices on security or high-performing code. And their president, Nick Odson, uses astrophotography as his metaphor of this new form of assessment. He says, when you take one picture of a night sky, like one assessment, you don't see a lot other than maybe some small points of light. But when you take hundreds of photos of the same area, reduce the noise, you start to see nebulas emerge. I believe this is a glimpse into the future of assessment, and it's an exciting new way to help learners of all ages grow. Another example of the impact of AI is at the American College of Financial Services. They wanted to improve learner engagement and course completions. They used Brightspace, Creator Plus, Lumi to create more engaging, accessible, and learner-centered experiences. They also used AI to accelerate course development, to speed up the instructional design time, and it worked. Course development costs came down, course completions went up 18%. More learners stayed engaged, more learners finished their courses, more learners succeeded. That is a simple but powerful example of how thoughtful instructional design combined with AI can deliver measurable impact on student learning experiences and outcomes. It's stories like this that are examples of not just the use of technology, they are stories of successful partnership. Because the future of learning will be built when all of us, educators, researchers, technology companies, work together to design these new systems that live up to our highest expectations for teaching, learning, tutoring, and assessment. And remember, the future will not be built by retreating from it. Now, I get it. It's natural and human to want to return to what feels safe when change might feel a little overwhelming. Pencils and paper, chalk and blackboards. I really hope nobody here thinks they should go back to a blackboard, just for clarity. Folks, nostalgia is not a plan. It's not a valid direction. It is a retreat. It is our responsibility to go forward, to find better ways forward, to help learners find their way in the world as it is, in the world as it will be, not in the world that it was or as we wished it would be. And that brings me to my final idea that I want to emphasize today. And it's a serious and urgent idea: determination. And by that, I mean doing what Seneca said, daring when things get difficult, especially when something really matters. I'm not talking about just raw willpower or blind grit. I'm talking about a directed persistence, a clear-eyed commitment to improving learning outcomes, together with the flexibility to adapt, to learn from failures, but to always keep moving forward anyway. And it matters, because in moments like this, we can all hesitate. When technology moves quickly and old systems crumble, we want to pause. We want to wait. We want to see how things unfold. But we're seeing institutions that are choosing not to wait. Takura is New Zealand's countrywide distance education school. They serve tens of thousands of learners across the country, and many of whom never set foot in a traditional classroom. And one teacher described her first time hearing a student's voice through a video assignment submitted in Brightspace. Hearing that student sparked and revealed a speech and language challenge that would have never shown up in an essay or worksheet. It gave that teacher a better understanding of the learner. It allowed her to give better support. And across the school, teachers have quickly adopted tools like Quick Eval because they save valuable time, while also at the same time giving richer insight into how students are progressing. And students can navigate their entire learning journey through one learning environment. This is one of the most demanding educational settings imaginable, fully online, serving learners across vast distances, diverse circumstances, and technology is helping educators spend less time managing the system and more time understanding and supporting students. I love the Takura story because it's about really seeing learners, connecting with learners, and with some of them in their own Maori language and culture. It's a story about reaching students and including students who might not otherwise be included, and building opportunity for real people, building skills for a future that doesn't exist, but it's coming fast. And it also shows that the value of educators hasn't changed, only the tools. This is an example of why we also need to get the adoption right, and why our collective determination matters. Because the future of learning won't be built through one breakthrough, or one technology, or one leader. It'll be built through thousands of decisions made by all of us, the people who care deeply about education. This is why partnership matters in the determination of our future, because the scale of this challenge is too large for any one organization to solve alone. The institutions that are going to succeed are going to be the ones that are not going to try to do everything themselves. They'll be the ones that are building partnerships, strong ecosystems, collaborative innovation. This is something that we believe in deeply at D2L. We don't want to simply build tools. We want to work with you to build the future of learning. And that is why Fusion exists. Yes, you're going to see amazing products. And yes, you will see new features. But this conference has always been bigger than that. It's about inspiring ideas. It's about learning from each other. It's about sharing those experiments and insights and challenges so that together we can keep growing. So over the next few days, you're going to hear from educators and leaders who are trying new things. Some ideas may challenge all of your assumptions, some may surprise you, and some may spark entirely new possibilities. That is exactly what this conference is for. Because the future of learning will not be built through one breakthrough moment. It'll be built through conversations like the ones we're going to have here this week. And I know from meeting with so many of you that there are great ideas, great leadership in this room. You are showing what is possible. So I want to encourage you, be bold, speak up, Share what's working for you, because people are looking up to you. My friends, standing here in Phoenix, looking out from your window, you will see a long way across the desert. But that horizon will always move as you walk towards it. That is no reason to stop. That limitless future is the reason we're inspired to keep moving. And here's the other thing about the horizon. We may never reach it, but we don't have to travel alone. We can move towards it with people beside us, people who challenge us, people who teach us, people who make that path easier and more enjoyable. That is what this community is. And that is why I believe so deeply in what we can build together. So let's move towards that horizon with clear direction, with thoughtful design, with determination, because our learners are counting on us. And the future of learning is not going to be built by those that retreat from it. It will be built by us if we're willing to walk towards it together. Folks, thank you very much. I hope you have a great Fusion.